Genghis Khan and his family and
Oh,
what
cool.
they did. Dude, they killed 10% of the population of Earth while he was alive. They killed so many
What?
people that they affected the carbon footprint of human beings on Earth.
For centuries, the location of Genghis Khan's tomb has been one of history's greatest mysteries.
The Mongols would light people on fire and then use their bodies to light buildings on fire with catapults.
I thought you were going to say for warmth. Did they ever light people up just to warm up?
They did.
Like it's
They
cold.
probably did whatever they wanted to.
It was buried so well that it was almost as if it had vanished. But new discoveries and theories might finally uncover his resting place. And this isn't the only ancient mystery we're tackling today. From the golden treasures of King Midas to the shocking rediscovery of King Richard III under a parking lot.
Archaeologists in Britain say they've made an astonishing find. They believe they've uncovered the remains of long-lost royalty. He happens to be King Richard III.
We're exploring some of the most unbelievable tomb stories in history, ready to uncover the secrets of the past. Let's dig in.
This is the neighborhood where she was found. More than 100 years ago, this was a cemetery, but the city picked up the cemetery, the people who were buried there, and they moved them, except for one little girl who was found more than 100 years later, and now we know who she is.
1. Genghis Khan's lost tomb. Picture a powerful ruler that his empire was twice the size of ancient Rome's, a conqueror whose name struck fear into millions. Yet, despite his massive influence, Genghis Khan disappeared into history with one last mysterious command: bury me in secret. In 1227, after a life filled with conquests, Genghis Khan passed away. But his burial was far from ordinary. To keep the location a secret, his soldiers made sure no one could ever find it. They eliminated anyone who crossed their path on the way to the gravesite. Then, they rode their horses over the area to erase every trace of the burial. Even today, the final resting place of Genghis Khan remains one of the biggest mysteries in history. There are plenty of theories about where he might be buried. Many believe his tomb is hidden somewhere on Burkhan Khaldun, a sacred mountain in the Kinti Range, north of Mongolia's capital, Ulaanbaatar. This mountain has deep ties to Genghis Khan's life. As a young man, he once hid there to escape his enemies and later vowed to return to the mountain after his death. Could this be the place where his secrets are buried? In 2015, two experts, French archaeologist Pierre-Henri Giscard and imaging specialist Raphael Hautefort, thought they were getting close to solving the mystery. Using drones to scan the mountain's peak, they found a man-made mound, possibly hiding the tomb. But their work came to an abrupt halt. Burkhan Khaldun is part of a protected wildlife conservation area and is strictly off-limits. Not even the most advanced technology could uncover the tomb. But geography isn't the only challenge. Mongolia is a massive, sparsely populated country. Roads cover just 2% of its land, and the terrain is tough. Endless plains, rocky mountains, and vast deserts. Finding the tomb is less like searching for a needle in a haystack, and more like trying to spot a single grain of sand in the desert. Mongolia's burial customs make things even harder. While China's tomb culture had some influence during Genghis Khan's time, Mongols often buried their dead underground, sometimes more than 65 feet deep, or left bodies exposed to the elements. This makes it nearly impossible to locate specific graves, especially ones hidden so well. Modern efforts to find the tomb have been groundbreaking, but haven't cracked the mystery. In 2011, National Geographic launched the Valley of the Khans project. They used the latest digital imaging, aerial photography, and radar to search for clues. Despite all the cutting-edge tools, the tomb remains undiscovered. Earlier attempts didn't fare any better. In the 1980s, archaeologist Damajav Erdene led a major expedition in Kinti province, where Genghis Khan was born. Hopes were high, but the project came to a sudden stop in 1990 during Mongolia's democratic revolution. And it wasn't just politics that ended the search. Many Mongolians were against disturbing the tomb, not because of fear of a curse, as some had believed during Soviet times, but out of respect for Genghis Khan's dying wish to rest in peace. Mongolia, journalist Aaron Craig once said, is a country of long traditions. For many, uncovering the tomb would mean dishonoring the memory of the man who united a nation. So, for now, Genghis Khan's greatest secret remains safe. The search for Genghis Khan's tomb shows how mysteries surrounding powerful leaders can last for centuries. But he's not the only one whose final resting place stirs our imagination. From the open plains of Mongolia, let's move to the rugged lands of ancient Anatolia, where the story of another legendary figure, King Midas, blurs the line between myth and reality. 2. King Midas's legacy. Deep in the windswept plains of Gordion, Turkey, there's a massive burial mound known as the Great Tumulus. This ancient site is tied to King Midas, the ruler often remembered for the mythical golden touch. But while his legend feels larger than life, the tomb tells a story grounded in history. Dating back to around 740 BCE, the tomb structure is a masterpiece of ancient engineering. Inside, an inner chamber made of pine and juniper logs has stayed intact for almost 3,000 years. Measuring about 6 by 5 meters, this chamber held the remains of a man in his 60s, likely a royal figure. While some think the tomb could belong to Midas, others believe it might be his father, Gordius. Either way, it's a treasure trove of history. The items found inside speak volumes about the wealth and culture of the time. Bronze jars, beautifully decorated bowls, and fragments of fine textiles paint a picture of a sophisticated and wealthy society. Among these, 3 large bronze cauldrons hint at grand funerary ceremonies, possibly banquets held to honor the dead. What makes this tomb even more remarkable is that it's the oldest known intact wooden structure in the world. Alongside the treasures, archaeologists also found early examples of alphabetic writing, some of the oldest discovered outside Phoenicia. These inscriptions show that Phrygia, the kingdom Midas ruled, was advanced in both literacy and social organization, long before the Greeks turned his story into a legend. The Great Tumulus is a powerful blend of myth and reality. It transforms King Midas from a mythical figure into a real-life ruler with incredible influence and resources. But while his tomb shows honor and reverence, not all rulers are remembered so grandly. As we leave the ancient wonders of Gordion, our journey takes us across centuries and continents to a far less glamorous burial. This one, hidden beneath modern England, tells a story of neglect, defeat, and historical twists. 3. Rediscovery of Richard III. In 2012, under a parking lot in Leicester, England, archaeologists found the remains of King Richard III. His story is very different from King Midas's. Instead of a grand burial, Richard's grave was hurried, unmarked, and almost forgotten. Richard III, the last English king to die in battle, was killed in 1485 during the Battle of Bosworth Field. After his death, his body was buried in the choir of a Franciscan friary, but the burial was anything but royal. Archaeologists discovered a grave so small and shallow that Richard's skeleton was crammed into it, with his head awkwardly tilted to one side. Why was a king buried in such a disrespectful way? Some believe it was done in a rush by friars under pressure from the soldiers of Henry Tudor, the man who defeated Richard. Others think it was a deliberate insult, showing disdain for the fallen king. Even so, traces of the friary's former grandeur were found nearby, like medieval floor tiles. But the grave's location tells its own ironic story. Just a few inches above Richard's legs were the foundations of an 18th century outhouse. A king's remains had been sitting beneath coal storage and toilets for centuries, almost lost to time. Despite the humble grave, finding Richard's remains was a groundbreaking moment. His skeleton showed signs of scoliosis, confirming accounts of his curved spine, though it wasn't as severe as some stories suggested. The discovery reignited interest in the Wars of the Roses and gave new insight into the life and death of one of England's most controversial kings. Finding King Richard III's grave brought history and legend face to face. From a hurried, unmarked burial that revealed the troubled end of a medieval king, we now head to the sunny hills of Mycenae, Greece. Here, a massive tomb showcases the engineering genius and enduring mysteries of an ancient civilization. 4. Mystery of Agamemnon. Sitting on Panagitsa Hill in Mycenae, Greece, the tomb of Agamemnon, also called the Treasury of Atreus, is a stunning example of Mycenaean architecture. Built around 1250 BCE, this massive Tholos tomb stands as one of the most impressive structures of the ancient world. When you step inside, the sheer size of the dome takes your breath away. It's 13.5 meters tall and 14.5 meters wide, built with a technique called corbelling that doesn't need any extra support. For over 1,000 years, this false dome was the largest in the world. The way the stones were arranged shows how skilled and advanced the Mycenaeans were at building things to last. But here's the mystery. No one knows for sure who was buried in the tomb. In the 19th century, archaeologist Heinrich Schliemann thought it belonged to Agamemnon, the legendary leader of the Trojan War. However, modern researchers don't agree, and there's no proof connecting the tomb to him. The identity of the tomb's occupant remains unknown, adding to its intrigue. The tomb also tells us a lot about Mycenaean society. Above the entrance is a massive stone lintel that weighs around 120 tons, an incredible feat of construction for the time. Building something like this was a huge statement of power and wealth for the Mycenaean elite. Unfortunately, the tomb hasn't been left untouched. In the early 1800s, Lord Elgin removed a half column from the site, and it's now displayed in the British Museum. This act has sparked ongoing debates about cultural heritage and who should own ancient artifacts. Even with its mysteries and controversies, the tomb of Agamemnon continues to amaze visitors and archaeologists alike. It gives us a glimpse into the Mycenaeans' world, a civilization that laid the foundation for much of Greek culture. As research continues, who knows what secrets this ancient masterpiece might still reveal? From the towering grandeur of the tomb of Agamemnon, where myths and mysteries collide, we travel to Egypt's scorching deserts. Here, in the Valley of the Kings, the tomb of Ramses IV showcases the breathtaking artistry and spiritual depth of ancient Egyptian burial traditions. 5. Ramses IV's tomb. In the heart of Luxor, Egypt, the Valley of the Kings is home to some of history's most famous burial sites, including the tomb of Ramses IV, known as KV2. Built during the 20th dynasty, this tomb is a remarkable example of ancient Egyptian craftsmanship and religious devotion. The layout of KV2 follows the typical design for royal tombs of the New Kingdom. A sloping entrance leads to a series of long corridors and chambers, all designed to guide the pharaoh to his eternal rest. The burial chamber is the centerpiece, featuring a massive red granite sarcophagus that still sits in place today. Though the tomb was meant to be larger, Ramses IV's sudden death meant its construction had to stop early. The walls of the tomb are a feast for the eyes. Vibrant paintings and detailed carvings depict scenes from Egyptian mythology and sacred texts, showing the journey of the soul through the afterlife. The ceiling of the burial chamber is particularly striking, with images of the goddess Nut, who was believed to protect the dead and guide them to eternity. Ramses IV was determined to leave a lasting legacy. He even increased the workforce at Deir el-Medina, the village of artisans who built the royal tombs, to make sure his tomb was completed. Despite this, the tomb was later used as a shelter by Coptic Christians, who left behind graffiti in Greek and Roman scripts, adding another layer of history to the site. Discovered in the early 1900s, KV2 remains an important site for archaeologists. Ramses IV's mummy wasn't found in the tomb, but in KV35. A royal cache was used to protect mummies from looters. This relocation highlights the challenges ancient Egyptians faced in preserving their dead from grave robbers. Today, the tomb of Ramses IV stands as a symbol of the grandeur and spirituality of ancient Egypt. Its stunning artwork and carefully designed chambers offer a glimpse into a world where life and the afterlife are deeply connected. The tomb of Ramses IV gave us a glimpse into the splendor and complexity of ancient Egyptian burials. But what if a burial isn't found in a grand tomb, but beneath a bustling modern neighborhood? That's exactly what happened in San Francisco, leading to a discovery that gripped an entire city. 6. Edith Howard Cook. In a quiet San Francisco neighborhood, a construction crew made a shocking find. A small, airtight metal casket hidden beneath a concrete slab. Inside was the body of a little girl, perfectly preserved despite being buried for over 140 years. Her identity was a mystery, setting off a year-long investigation to uncover her story. The girl, just 3 years old when she died, was buried in what was once the Odd Fellows Cemetery, long forgotten under the city's growth. Her delicate golden curls were still intact, and sprigs of lavender surrounded her, while a rosary rested gently on her chest. The casket itself was a piece of art, a remarkable example of 19th century craftsmanship that acted as a time capsule. Through careful work, including DNA testing and historical research, experts identified her as Edith Howard Cook. She was born in 1873 to a wealthy San Francisco family. Her cause of death was marasmus, a condition caused by severe malnutrition, showing that even families with money were not safe from the challenges of disease and poor nutrition in those days. The breakthrough came when researchers found an old map of the Odd Fellows Cemetery from 1865. By overlaying it with modern-day maps of San Francisco, they pinpointed her grave's original location. Genealogical records then connected Edith to living descendants in nearby San Rafael. For her family, this unexpected connection to the past was both surprising and moving. This discovery is a powerful reminder of how history and science can come together to tell forgotten stories. It also makes us wonder how many more hidden lives might be buried beneath modern cities, waiting to be uncovered. But if this discovery seems remarkable, what about a burial site that predates even written history? From the streets of San Francisco to the waters off Florida's coast, we dive into a burial site that takes us back thousands of years. This next discovery isn't just ancient. It's one of the oldest in North America, hidden beneath the waves. 7,000-year-old burial site. In 2016, a diver searching for prehistoric shark teeth off the coast of Venice, Florida, found something much more profound, a human jawbone with a molar still attached. What started as a surprising find turned into one of the most important archaeological discoveries in North America. Florida's Bureau of Archaeological Research, led by Ryan Duggins, uncovered a 7,000-year-old Native American burial site, now submerged under the Gulf of Mexico. The graves were marked by wooden stakes, carefully carved, and surrounded by bones and fragments of fabric. The site's preservation was due to the peat-rich seabed, which acted like a natural time capsule, slowing the decay of organic materials. Thousands of years ago, this area was a freshwater pond where ancient people buried their dead. They drove sharp wooden stakes into the pond's bed to mark the graves, turning it into a sacred burial ground. Over time, rising sea levels swallowed the area, hiding it beneath layers of sediment and seawater. This site isn't just about bones and artifacts. It tells the story of a people deeply connected to their land and water, showing their rituals and respect for the dead. While bog burials in Europe are fairly well known, underwater burial sites like this are incredibly rare in North America, making this find even more unique. Respecting these remains is critical. Florida officials are working closely with the Seminole tribe and other Native American groups to ensure everything is handled with care. Under the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, this collaboration shows the importance of preserving history while honoring cultural heritage. This burial site is a powerful reminder of how much we still have to learn about the ancient people who lived here long before us. The Venice burial site reminds us of how closely ancient people lived with and honored the natural world. While that discovery was breathtaking, Florida's waters have revealed other secrets before. But what about ancient burial mysteries found far from the ocean? Let's head to the dry lands of Peru, where a 3,000-year-old burial site has uncovered incredible stories from the past. 8. Ancient Peruvian burials. In the dry and dusty lands of northern Peru, archaeologists made an exciting discovery in Virú province. Hidden within a ceremonial temple were the remains of 4 people buried long ago. These burial bundles, surrounded by walls of mud and stone, are believed to be over 3,000 years old. This makes the site one of the oldest and most important finds in the La Libertad region. Ferran Castillo, the lead archaeologist, explained that these remains were likely from people of great importance. Being buried so close to the temple suggests they were deeply tied to the spiritual and cultural life of their community. Temples like this were sacred spaces, and being laid to rest there was likely an honor reserved for leaders, or those connected to religious ceremonies. This region has always been rich in history. Just last month, archaeologists uncovered the skeletons of 11 high-ranking individuals near Chan Chan, the largest mud brick city in the Americas. These discoveries show the depth and variety of cultures that thrived in this area long before the rise of the powerful Inca Empire. Adding to the mystery, archaeologists also found 2 seals at the burial site. One seal featured a human-like face looking east, and the other showed a jaguar facing west. These designs give us clues about the beliefs and rituals of the people who lived here, offering a glimpse into their symbolic world. But what if the discovery isn't just about spiritual importance, but royal power? What if it holds the remains of a king who shaped the course of history? Let's travel to Greece and explore the tomb of Philip II, a discovery surrounded by mystery and fate. 9. Philip VI's Tomb Mystery. In the small town of Regina, Greece, buried beneath a massive mound called the Great Tumulus, lies a series of royal tombs. Among them is Tomb Y, thought by many to belong to King Philip VIII, the father of Alexander the Great. However, this claim has sparked heated arguments among archaeologists and historians. Tomb. Right next to Tomb M is Tomb 2, which was found completely intact. Inside were stunning treasures, including golden larnacs used to hold ashes, ornate armor, and other priceless objects. At first, many thought Tomb 2 was Philip's final resting place. However, the male skeleton in Tomb 2 didn't have any signs of a limp, casting doubt on the theory. Modern forensic studies suggest that Tomb 2 might belong to Philip's successor, King Aridaeus, and his wife Eurydice. This raises more questions about who is buried in Tomb Y. The artwork and design of the tombs only add to the confusion. Tomb I features haunting wall paintings, including one of the Rape of Persephone, a famous mythological scene. Tomb 2, on the other hand, has a grand entrance and more elaborate treasures, hinting that it might be from a slightly later time. The debate over these tombs shows just how difficult it can be to piece together ancient history. Is Tomb I truly the resting place of Philip VII, or does it hold another story we haven't yet uncovered? N. Shackled Greek skeletons. Archaeologists discovered these remains in Phaleron, a historic site near Athens, where approximately 1,500 skeletons rest. Yet, these 80 individuals stood out, bound at the wrists with iron shackles, their jaws hanging open. They were executed in unison. Dr. Stella Chrysoulaki, head of the excavation, noted their respectful burial, a stark contrast to the treatment of slaves or common criminals. This led to speculation that they were followers of Cylon, an Athenian noble who attempted a coup during a turbulent era. Historical accounts by Plutarch and Thucydides describe Cylon as an Olympic champion who married the daughter of a Megarian tyrant. In 632 BC, he led a rebellion to seize power in Athens, expecting widespread support. While some rallied to his cause, the coup ultimately failed, leading to the capture and execution of his followers. Tiny vases found among the remains help date the mass grave to a period of social and political upheaval. DNA testing may soon provide further insights into their identities and origins, potentially linking them to this infamous chapter in Athenian history. This discovery, made near a construction site for the Greek National Opera, reminds us of the layers of history buried beneath modern cities. As researchers unravel the mystery, the story of these 80 individuals continues to shed light on the struggles and sacrifices of ancient Athens. History is full of mysteries, but the search for answers never stops. From Genghis Khan's secret tomb to the shackled Greek skeletons, every discovery brings us closer to understanding the past, and sometimes it raises even bigger questions. If you love diving into these stories, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more journeys into the world's greatest mysteries. Let us know in the comments which of these tombs fascinated you the most, or if there's another historical mystery you want us to cover next. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next adventure.